Hey guys, what happens when a World of Darkness game is mistaken for the Fatal System? I might have mentioned this horror story somewhere else before, but I can't remember for sure whether or not I did, so here it is again. I apologize if you've seen it before. The story involves a player, and one particular game setting. A cross-splat World of Darkness game played over Discord. That started last summer and ended in February of this year. The concept of the game was that we, all adults ranging in the age of 20 to 40, were all going to be playing high school-aged students, aged 15 to 18, and attending a private school in New England. But before I begin, I'll start by saying that, yes, we had a session 0. And we were all on board with what one another was okay with. But here's the players. The GM, myself playing a mage, a fey changeling, and a kitsune, who was the problem of this story. The fey and kitsune started out knowing what they were, while I learned along the way. The kitsune had created their character as a female, with the concept of being an artist, but also a cat burglar type. And over the course of the game, that cat burglar part almost never came up. Things were going well initially, and after our characters and some NPCs met up and formed a friend group, we were all good. The kitsune even treated Faye, who was a notable problem child, as a little sister. Then the kitsune hooked up with one of the NPCs in the friend group, and things were going okay, right up until she lost her V-card. After that, the kitsune seemed to want to seek out sex as often as possible. It escalated bit by bit. Initially it was in secret, then it was whenever, and then it was in public. There was a group session with kitsune, and she decided that she liked that, and invented a color system to denote when anyone in the friend group could take advantage, when she only belonged to her boyfriend, and when she wasn't to be used by anyone. She would even express pouting and disappointment if no one else took advantage of her when she wore said collar, especially out in public. Things got to such a point that my character, who had been good friends with her, got more and more distant, and eventually aggravated by her behavior. Sad to say, but there was also likely some carryover with out-of-character annoyance. The kitsune also dumped Faye as a friend when she got too annoying for her. Which, to note, the Faye was new to RP in general and had been playing her character true to type, and was just failing to compensate for not ousting herself from the friend group. And the kitsune had a thing for my character, and she had a bad habit of if a non-friend slighted her once, she went to an extreme. For example, the jock dumped a slushie on her at school. So she broke into his house, assumed her big kitsune form, and took out the tendons behind his knees. Another time, the same jock tossed her boyfriend, and she nearly killed him. Both in and out of character, kitsune had to know everything that was going on. If a character went off to try and have a conversation in private, she would sneak off and try to listen in. She had enough points in stealth and perception to pull this kind of stuff off. If someone was on the phone, she would use abilities to listen in on both ends, as much as possible. The only way I found a way around this was for my character to speak a language that she didn't know. In addition, the player had to know what every little notification noise from Discord or phone was and who it was from. Things got to a point where the kitsune professed to love the game so much, and the story, that she pressured the GM into running it all the time. We played dang near every day, and burnout was happening for all of us, and the kitsune often wanted to play without the Fae around to join us. The Fae was also the only one working, and they eventually dropped, only to rejoin later as a different character who was immediately distrusted by kitsune for no good reason. And if we didn't play that day, the kitsune's player would get bummed and sad, which was basically guilt-tripping the DM, who would relent because they didn't want their friend to feel bad. The kitsune, also in character, went off on her character's boyfriend when he experimented with a guy, as she had caught them kissing, and this was after she had given them the okay to experiment when he confessed that he thought he might be bisexual. She got super jealous, and they had a fight about that, and a fight about something else a couple of days later. Her solution? Create a scavenger hunt for the boyfriend that ends in a romantic dinner where she proposes at the end. Mind you, she was 18, and he was 16, and they had only been dating a few months. Out of character, I can't tell you how many times the kitsune player complained he didn't know how to make his character more interesting. There were at least 3 separate sit-downs, where tons of ideas were given, but never acted on. Not long after the scavenger hunt stunt, the GM finally up and said that the game was being put on an indefinite hold due to burnout. The Fae and myself pointed out to the kitsune player that it was their fault due to wanting to play so much. And when the kitsune wasn't present, the Fae and I expressed to the GM more than once that we felt like the game kept going back around to the kitsune in some fashion, often focusing on the kitsune's sexcapades. It sucked a lot for everyone else. The game was getting interesting as we were heading into murky waters, having started training with Pentex to work as a first team, and we had even bagged a couple of werewolves to take back for study. We were also forced to face increasingly more difficult decisions. A lot of this had a lot of promise, which all went down the tubes. And that's how one player ruined it for everyone. We don't talk to Kitsune anymore, and other games were actually attempted with Kitsune, but they generally fell apart due to lack of interest on Kitsune's part, which, as far as anyone could tell, was because it wasn't the WOD game. Kitsune became hyper-obsessed with other things once that game was done, and barely spoke to us, eventually inventing a reason that wasn't true to quit talking to most of us and block us from everything. Well guys, what can I say except holy crap. The Kitsune had to have thought that they were playing the Fatal system or something. As far as I could tell, most of the table didn't really care much for his little sexcapades, so as he said, there was a session 0, and this is probably something that should have, if it wasn't brought up, it definitely needed to be talked about. Additionally, they really probably should have talked to the DM about this guy's behavior, and maybe about kicking him, but it also seemed like the DM was kind of complicit in this guy's behavior.
But in any case, guys, that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed, and if you have a story that you'd like me to narrate, let me know. And as always, thanks for watching, and have a good one.